more than a good book. It's the kind of book that stirs you. It's the kind of memoir that does the heavy lifting for the reader to excavate their own synchronous emotions that Lisa writes about in the book, from love, ambition, hope, loss, insecurity, family, failure, all of it. Which is not to say it's all about emotion. There's a lot of masala in there for those who are looking for it. Right at the beginning, we have a young Lisa thwacking the son of an industrialist across his forehead with a shoe because he tried to grope her in his shoe closet. We have Lisa's formidable mother in a wheelchair accosting burglars who've entered their home, saying, "You want to kill me? What's the worst you can do? Kill me right now." The burglar is sent running away. We have the underworld. We have a Mr. X. We have Flirting with Sean Penn, which was not what I knew about earlier at a Vanity Fair party. So, and there's this fabulous part that I call Lisa's Jab We Met moment with a happy ending. And I think before we even start the questions, I'd love for you to read that part just to set the tone of you as a 16-year-old backpacker in Croatia landing up at this doorstep.
Yes, thank you so much.
Gives you a little taste of the book in terms of, you know, the storytelling and the anecdotal writing, which is, I think, restricted to the first half, and then we move on to more of an internal exploration. So, Lisa, I want to start with talking about structure and style, because you've said in recent interviews that the way the story was told was as important to you as the story itself, and you really internal exploration. So Lisa, I want to start with talking about structure and style, because you've said in recent interviews that the way the story was told was as important to you as the story itself. And you really fought.
I really endorse this book and recommend it to absolutely everyone, but my taste is that, exactly as Anindita said, it's not just a story, it's also how the story is told. The quality of writing, you know, there should be a little bit of enigma in the story, that the places where your own imagination can perhaps fill in the gaps, where you can meet the experience of the author. So not every single thing should be spelled out. And I really obviously respond to writing. What I find I connect with the most is in a great specificity and getting very specific in describing taste, smell, you know, the way that the light falls on someone's glasses. I actually find myself there, transported, but in that, I also I identify my own personal experiences. And that's really, really important for me, is to, in the very specific, we find the universal. And you find yourself, and you find your own experiences. And so I wanted to also emphasize that, again, I imagine that there will be perceptions, obviously, about my memoir, and amongst them, which would be very legitimate, is that it's a cancer memoir, that it all has to do with my battling this disease, which I've been very public about. And in a sense, it's not. I do cover my cancer experiences, but that comes much later. Although, having said that, cancer was the launching pad for writing this memoir, because initially that's why I was approached to write this. And I was approached off of a blog that I had written called The Yellow Diaries, in which I chronicled my cancer experiences literally week by week by week. And I was using writing, which is something I've always turned to my entire life, to try to process and decode a very emotional, very challenging period that I was going through. So off of that, I was offered, you know, the opportunity